Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank the Honourable Member for his questions. This is a major concern of my ministry, basically to make sure that if people do go offshore for employment, that they are protected and that they are not exploited, and that everything that they do is legal. Under the Employment Agency Regulations of 2008, the Ministry provides authorization to companies who intend to operate an employment agency. For any company to do this, there are certain requirements that they have. They must meet the tax requirements of Fiji Revenue and Customs Services, which means the agency has to have a TIN, and the person running that agency also have to have a TIN number, and the agency has to pay a bond of $20,000 to the Ministry together with a $1,000 registration fee. This bond will be utilized if something goes wrong with workers offshore and you have to bring them back. All applicants, we do a due diligence check by the Ministry, and we issue authorizations for employment agencies, which can be for a period between 1 to 5 years. Within that period, those agencies can operate. Any company that operates without this authorization commits an offense and is liable to a fine on conviction or imprisonment or both. So we urge all of those that are doing this under the radar to make sure that they comply with this legal requirement. Since the law came into force in 2008, the Ministry has registered 9 employment agencies, and the licenses are held for 1 year only. And we wish to advise members of the public that they must check. If somebody comes around and saying he's organizing work offshore, it's very important that members of the public check first with the Ministry of Employment to make sure that those organizations are registered with us. And we also urge all members of the public to come through the National Employment Center for any overseas related employment issues so that we can advise them accordingly. Members of the public are also urged not to waste their hard-earned cash by paying bogus employment agencies who claim to arrange employment overseas, some of whom actually get tourist visas and organize people to go and work under those tourist visas. That is also something that should not be happening. During the course of registering employment agencies these past few years, since 2008, we have noticed a number of issues. One, initially we had the employment agencies paying a surety bond with us. They take Fijian workers overseas, and sometimes these workers are abandoned there. Then government has had to go and try to rescue the workers to bring them back to Fiji. When sometimes they pass away, and government has had to try to organize to bring the body back to Fiji, and that should not be happening. With the introduction in 2012 of the 20,000 cash bond, we have seen a major improvement in the operation of these authorized employment agencies. Ministry enters into a formal contract with the authorized employment agencies, and the bond will only be used if the company fails to repatriate Fijian workers who have gone abroad under the agency's arrangements. The Ministry is working with the Fiji Police Force to curb the illegal recruitment of workers by unauthorized employment agencies, and we are also tackling these bogus or employment agencies through prosecution. Ministry is currently conducting investigations with the Fiji Police Force and other relevant agencies to ensure that these bogus employment agencies are brought before the Employment Relations Tribunal for illegal acts and operations. In 2012, the Ministry investigated the case of illegal recruitment by Timothy Lolohea. He was sentenced by the Employment Court on 7 January 2015 for operating an employment agency without authorization from the Permanent Secretary for Employment, and was ordered to pay a fine of $6,000. The Ministry also charged Varinavatiko of Access United Fiji Limited in 2012
Honourable Minister,
for operating.
Honourable Minister, please do not mention names in Parliament.
I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker. I withdraw those. Maybe I'll just say that there have been people that have been charged to operating illegal agencies. There has been another individual who is now being charged and brought before the Employment Tribunal to answer criminal charges of failing to seek authorization to operate an employment agency. That is currently before the Employment Tribunal. We have also advised the print media organizations to check the authorization from our ministry before advertising for any recruitment companies undertaking overseas employment. There has been an advertisement lately in the papers for which we have talked to media about that particular issue. In terms of awareness, The ministry has advertised 5 times in the newspaper since 2014, advising members of the public about these bogus employment agencies, and we've also undertaken roadshows around Fiji to ensure that workers and members of the public are advised on the procedures of recruitment through legal employment agencies and through the National Employment Center. There's one particular major concern that we have. One of the biggest problems that we have globally now is the trafficking of human beings. Modern day slavery and all of these other issues. Sometimes people go from, it's been happening in Fiji, people come across here on student visas, they end up doing other things. So it's very important for the ministry to try to protect our workers when they go offshore. So we need to have a rigorous process of checking their contracts to make sure that they are protected even though they are working offshore. That is a major concern of the ministry and something that we will continue to emphasize strongly into the future. Thank you, Madam Speaker.